What are all of my alterhuman, alter being identities? Oh boy. This is gonna be a long one. Hey, I'm Faye. And today I'm gonna be answering your questions. By the time you're watching this recording, I'm probably like midway through moving. So, for the next few videos, if you see me in the same outfit, it's not because I don't change, it's because I recorded it all on the same day. I'm hoping to get a few videos done, that way I can just roll them out over the summer and I don't have to film while I'm at a family's house. My family does know I do YouTube and they have seen my YouTube. I just don't really have a space to record because I have 4 younger brothers. And they are all very loud, as younger siblings tend to be. Hey, Faye from the future here. So I just want to come on and correct my announcements. I made some announcements, but I made them like a month ago, so they're not accurate. I don't know why I thought that would work. I was just kind of hoping it would. It didn't. So anyway, here's the new announcements. So I have a new mask on my Etsy shop, and you can find this one here. I also have this one on my Etsy shop, so go look at those, please. I also have spent like my entire summer so far working on making charms, so you can go pre-claim those on my Ko-Fi. You can find that here at the link below or in the description. I also will be opening mask commissions probably around the time that this video comes out. So if you want a guaranteed slot on my mask commissions, a guaranteed commission from me, you will have to be a Ko-Fi member. So again, link in the description. My Ko-Fi members get first claim on any commission slots. Lastly, the giveaway that I'm hosting is still ongoing, so if you want to learn more about the giveaway or how to enter, please go watch my video that I posted before this, my 10K subscriber video, that has all the details for the giveaway and how to enter and what to do, whatnot, and all that stuff. So go watch that, because it flopped really bad. So if you want a chance for a custom tail charm or mask charm, go watch it. It's great, I promise. And then enter the giveaway. You have a pretty good chance of winning because not even 10 people have entered. Anyway, on to the video. Okay, let's get started. So the first question was, what are all of my alterhuman identities? And I guess we're gonna start off the day with the controversial question. The question itself isn't what's controversial, but I do have some identities that I think are less accepted in the Therian and other kin communities. I've talked before about a bunch of different identities that I've juggled with or considered in the past, and I'm in some Discord servers with some moots who may be watching this that probably have seen me talk about these identities a little bit more. But first and foremost, I'm a cat. I'm transspecies, biological, Therian. I identify as a cat in every single way, shape, and form. I'm a cat through and through. My baseline is not human, my baseline is cat. And I'm not a single species of cat. I kind of label it as a Cladotherian, but that's not really true. It's just the closest I could find that describes my experience. I am not a single species of cat. I am a feline. Like, I am a type of feline. Me, as I am, this is a feline. I'm not this type of cat. He's kind of hidden by my microphone, but he's there. But I'm also not really a cougar, I'm not a snow leopard, I'm not any of those things, but I'm also all of those things because I'm just part of the same family as them. I am Felidae, somehow, some way. Then I also have a Mexican gray wolf stereotype. I sometimes describe myself as a cat with a Mexican gray wolf stereotype. But those are just my 2 basic identities that I talk about most often. I've also mentioned before on the channel that I also identify as the magpie from K-pop Demon Hunters named Susie. I do identify as this in a different way than I see most fiction kins identifying as that. I don't identify as that character like exclusively. Like, I look like that character. I am that character in concept, but I'm not that character with that character. I'm not that specific character with that specific character's memories. I just appear as that character. And I am that character, because that character is one of a kind, but it's not like a past life sharing memory situation. And that's why I'm okay with doubles. So if you're a double of Susie, feel free to interact with me. If you don't want to interact with me, of course, that's your choice. But if you're okay with doubles, just know I'm also okay with doubles. I'm okay with doubles across all my kins, so don't even worry about it. I also identify as a Time Lord, as in a Time Lord from the series Doctor Who. I have identified this way for a very long time, since I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. I have pictures of me dressing up as a Time Lord. I also am starting to believe that I do identify as a plague doctor. I'm starting to think about that. Like, I'm starting to actually consider that. I'm like leaning more towards I do identify that, as well as Susie. I know I talked about in a previous video, I was like, oh, I always envision myself as like a plague doctor, but blah, 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 but actually it's this bird. Actually, I'm starting to think it's both. I don't know. They're very similar in concept in my head, but I'm starting to think it's both simultaneously. Finally, on the list of like things I could think of off the top of my head, I don't have this all written out. I've talked about before how like I have just always identified as these things, and I didn't know there was like a term for it or a community or anything like that. So I've never like made a list or put it on paper like that. So it's hard for me to compile it in my head and pick apart exactly what I identify as, because I've just been identifying as it for so long that like I don't even know how to conceptualize or pick apart my identities, but I'm doing it slowly, guys. Okay, I'm working through it. But I also identify as a couple plants. This is where it gets a little controversial. I know not everyone accepts plantkin, but you asked, so I'm telling you. Catchweed bedstraw. I do identify as catchweed bedstraw. I've always been very deeply connected to catchweed bedstraw. I've always found kinship in it. So I am also catchweed bedstraw. I guess I'm a cat who's also catchweed bedstraw. And I identify as a sweet gum tree. So there's that. There's some concept kin identities that I've been like looking into, considering. I've always felt very deeply connected with the ocean, specifically the motion and sound of waves, but also generally the water. I don't like swimming. I don't like getting wet. I don't like anything to do with that. But I've still always been very connected to it. I've been juggling the idea of concept kin of the concept of waves. If that makes any sense. Probably not. It's my identity. It doesn't need to. But I also, as a kid, identified very strongly as a mermaid. I fully identified as a mermaid whenever I was smaller. I've been exploring that a little bit more, seeing if like that's still an identity I have. Maybe it's in the past. But even now, the ocean still calls to me. I don't like the beach. I don't like sand. I don't like that. But the feeling of waves hitting me feels like home. It feels like me. The ocean has always had this call to me, and I'm moving as far away from it as possible, apparently. But anyway, so I am considering ocean kin, but I just need to explore that a little more. I will be moving pretty far away from the ocean, so I probably won't have a lot of room to consider it, or maybe it will make me consider it more, you know? But yeah, I spent so long in my life not putting labels on anything that like it's hard for me to conceptualize how to identify my identities. But you know, we're going to talk about that more in this video right here, because we're moving on to the next question. I'm so green. Anyway, I'm green. Was there ever a time I thought I might be something different than a Therian, such as like a furry, generally alterhuman, other paw, and they talk about their own experience that whenever they were young, they thought they might just be a furry until they started having shifts. Yes and no. I didn't grow up with the internet. I didn't have social media. I didn't have anything like that. So I did not know about any of these kind of things. I did not hear about alterhuman identities or anything like that. So I didn't have any kind of label like that. I didn't even know what furries were really until like middle school, high school. So, and I did not like them. I was very anti-furry, which I'm not anymore. Obviously. It's so funny. Someone from my past found my account the other day and they're like, wow, you seemed really against this whenever we were in school together. And I was like, I am so sorry for that, by the way. I was so jealous of you being able to be yourself. Like, I was really anti-fur. My parents were always really anti-fur, and they're kind of on it now. Like, they support me, but but like, you know, they have their drawbacks, their limits. But I did think furries identified as animals, and so I talked about this before, but like when I first started exploring being a furry and being an alterhuman, one of my first interactions was someone who had symbols in their bio, and it was the Delta Omega. Is that what it is? The Omega? Delta? I can never remember. Anyway, they had the Therian symbol in their little username, and I was like, what does that symbol mean? And they're like, oh, it means I'm a Therian. And I was like, what is a Therian? And they're like, oh, that's when you identify as an animal. And I was like, oh my god. Oh my god, wait, I identify as an animal. Wait, what's a furry then? And they were like, that's just someone who dresses up. And I was like, oh, I'm a Therian. I'm not a furry. I'm a Therian. Oh, thanks for that. That actually really helps. And they were like, you're not a Therian. You're not a Therian. You can just say you're a Therian. You can't just choose to be a Therian. I was like, I just didn't know the terms. Jeez. Just hold on. So yes and no. I was just misinformed on the terms. But before I knew what a furry was and before I knew what a Therian was, I just thought I was normal. Because I didn't know what any of these terms meant. I didn't really have an opportunity to be confused about whatever labels because that just wasn't in my vocabulary. I was literally 19, 20 years old whenever I learned what a Therian was. So by then, my identity had already been pretty solidified, I guess. Like, it wasn't something I had to explore as deeply. I already kind of knew. So I wasn't really confused on terms unless I just had the wrong definition, which I did. But generally, no. I guess I didn't. Okay, how did I know I was a Therian, / when did I know I was a Therian, / how did I figure it out, / did I know what I was when I figured it out, and what led me there? How did I discover being a Therian? All these questions. So I discovered what a Therian was, as I just said, only about a year and a half ago, maybe. Whenever I thought a furry was identifying as an animal, and then someone told me, they're like, no, actually that's a Therian, and I was like, oh, that makes way more sense. But if you're specifically asking when did I know, like when did I start identifying as an animal? Always, I guess. I have never not identified as a cat. Even like as a tiny child, I would tell my grandparents and my parents that I was a cat. And I kind of along with it. And most of my friends and whatnot all agreed that I acted just like a cat. So, being a cat was never a question for me. Like, that's what I was meaning by, like, it was just normal to me because everyone acknowledged I was a cat, and I believed I was a cat, and everyone believed I was a cat, so I was just a cat, and I've just always been a cat. It has never really been a question for me. But I did become a wolf as well. I developed a wolf stereotype around, I want to say, like, 4th grade, 3rd to 4th grade, somewhere around there. I previously had not known anything about wolves, basically. I was not very interested in wolves until I started having shifts. And when I started having shifts, I immediately knew it was a wolf of some kind. I didn't know what it was, but I immediately knew it was a wolf of some kind. And then I identified as a wolf as well. When I grew up, I did have a period where I didn't identify as a wolf anymore, but eventually, as an adult, I was like, hey, wait, what happened to that? And I explored it more, and I started identifying as a wolf again. Now I'm here. I discovered therianthropy way after I discovered my animal identities. So that's kind of a hard question for me to answer. As well, a lot of these questions use the word awaken. If you watch my video on you can become a Therian, and here's why, you'll know that I don't use the word awaken because I didn't have a moment where, like, I awakened. Like, it wasn't like I rebirthed or woke up. Like, it's just something that either was always there with my cat theory type or slowly developed over time with my wolf theory type. I know for certain that I wasn't always a wolf. I know that it's something that appeared later in my life. It developed later, and I became that thing. I didn't choose to become that thing because the word become doesn't mean to choose. It means to develop, to change into. And that's what happened to me. My identity changed into a wolf. And I kept my cat stereotype as well. Oh my god, my roommate just came home. But I know for certain that the wolf stereotype was not there before, and then after a period of time, and after some development, it appeared. So, I don't use the term awaken, but I will say that I can lightly apply the term awaken to the Susie identity, because that was more of an awakening experience when I was watching the movie and I was looking, I was like, oh my god. And I woke up and that was me. Like, something just clicked, okay? So I can use it for that, but generally I don't really use that. As for most of my other identities, I didn't have a time where I, like, like I said, for most of my life, it was just kind of being normal. Like, I didn't understand that, like, this isn't a normal experience. It's not something everyone experiences. So I didn't really think about it until I was an adult. So I can't tell you, like, when or if I awoke or became that thing or what, or if I was born that way. I don't know. Because it's not an identity that I was always actively aware of. I was more actively aware of my wolf theory type, but that is only because of the shifts. So, did it take me a while to figure out that I was a Therian? Yes. I mean, yes and no. Did it take me a while to figure out that I was my theory type? No. That happened way before. But, like I said, I didn't start using the term Therian until about around the time that I started making content. So that was about August of 2024. So, yes and no. I didn't start using that term or labeling it as such until that time. But generally, I knew what I identified as. I just didn't know labels for it. I didn't know terms existed for that. I didn't know there was a community for that kind of thing. The next questions are the how did I discover my theory type, how did I figure out specific species, and how did I find out my first theory type. Okay, so like my first one, like I said, I've always identified as a cat, so I didn't have to figure that out. Like it's just something that came to me and was like naturally a part of me. My wolf theory type, again, because of the shifts, that's when I knew I was a wolf. But on to the specific species part, I figured it out because I was reading a book about wolves because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know what I was shifting into because I wanted to figure out what that was. So I went and got a book about gray wolves because I knew it was a gray wolf of some sort. Like I just could feel it in my soul. Like like it's just something that came to me, but I didn't know what kind specifically because there are a lot of kinds. So I was reading a book and I was flipping through. It's like northern gray wolf, like this kind, this kind, this kind. And I'm like, oh, all these kinds. It's so overwhelming. And then I saw Mexican gray wolf, and it is the smallest of all the gray wolves. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's me. So that one. That's how I figured it out. I do wonder if it has anything to do with my heritage or me generally. I'm a very short person. I'm not actually very short. I'm average height for women, but people tend to consider that short because it is very short considering the average height of all people. I am 5'2", so I've always been smaller than a lot of the people that I'm around. I've always been called very short. Also, I am Hispanic. My heritage is Mexican. My grandparents are from Mexico. So, I don't know if it's because it's the smallest of all the gray wolves and it's from Mexico. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it certainly did clue me in on what species I identified as. For my feline theory type, as I just said before in the beginning of the video, I don't have a specific species. I'm not really a Cladotherian either, even though I call it such sometimes. But I did for a while try to figure out what type I was. When I originally started researching into it, I really thought maybe it's a serval, and then I thought maybe it's just a domestic cat, maybe it's both, but I'm really connected to mountain lions, cougars. I'm very connected to snow leopards. I'm not really as connected to lions or tigers as much. And so I was like, I don't really know what to do because I feel like it's a little bit, it doesn't feel like I have a bunch of separate theory types. It feels like one theory type. And how can it be all of these things and none of these things? That makes no sense. Like it can't be only one, but also all of them. I didn't feel like a hybrid either. And so eventually I just kind of was like, I don't think I'm any cat specifically. And I don't think I'm all of them. I think I'm just one of them. So that's how I kind of figured it out. But yeah, to summarize, shifting and just generally pondering it, thinking about it, to researching the species that I think it could be, researching similar species, researching similar animals in general, but just looking around at all of it, it helped narrow it down from there. Okay, the next question is, how do I see myself? Like, is it spiritually, psychologically, physically, mentally, and like, how do I see myself on a day-to-day basis? So for my feline theory type, I do see myself and call myself a biological feline. The reason I do this is because, like I said, I just think I am one of the cats. I am, as I am, a cat. which means that my biology is a cat. Since I'm a cat and this is my body, that my body is that of a cat. So I'm a cat, biologically, since I am a cat. And my biology is mine. Which is not how every single biological Therian defines being a biological Therian, the same way that not all mental Therians identify in the same way mentally, or not all spiritual Therians identify as the same spirituality. I have seen a few other biological Therians talk about it in the same way I have. So there is others. I'm not just like making up like a random thing. Like there are others who identify biologically in the same way I do and still use that term to describe it. So I'm just letting y'all know, like, this isn't me making up a term or misusing a term. It's an actual phenomenon. I'm not alone on this. I've talked to other people who feel this way, which is one of the reasons that I decided to start using the term as well. And like, how do I see myself on a day-to-day basis? Baseline, cat, always. And then if I'm having shifts of another thing, or if I'm feeling more connected to another one of my kins, I'm like that on top of a cat. I feel like most Therians, their experience is that they're human and also like another animal or another kin. Like they are shifting from human to that thing or that animal or whatever. Or that they're like that animal or that kin trapped in this human body. But I do not feel that way personally. I feel like when I shift, I'm shifting from a cat to the other thing. Like I'm just a cat and then I'm a wolf. Which is another reason I call myself a biological feline, just because my baseline is cat. The next question is, what's it like being a Cladotherian? I feel like I've talked about this a little already. Well, a lot already, actually. I can't speak on every single Cladotherian's experience. Actually, I can't speak on basically any of them, since I don't identify as a Cladotherian in the same way that most other people identify as a Cladotherian. So I'm not gonna try and answer this one, I'm gonna be honest. If any Cladotherians want to, in the comments section, describe their experience, I highly encourage it. Please go ahead. Also, while you're in the comments section, just a little insert here. If you subscribe today, that means you joined my frog pond. And now you're one of my frogs. So if you subscribe today and you became one of my frogs today, go comment down below that you're a frog now, and I will send you your introductory to the frog pond frog emoji. It's your welcome prize. So go do that while you're in there describing your experience. If you're not a Cladotherian, I also want to hear your experience. Go do that as well. Okay, my next question is, how did I find out I was trans species, coming from a trans species person theirself? This is one of those things where, like, I don't really know how to describe. I saw it for the first time when Mango Kitty started using it, and I was like, what is that? Like, I talked about before in another video, in my You Can Become a Therian video, how some people don't use the term Therian, and it's when Mango Kitty stopped using the term Therian and started using only trans species. And I was like, that's really interesting, what is it? And it's like, whenever you start socially and maybe even physically transitioning into your theory type. I was like, I mean, everyone in my life calls me a cat. Everyone. I've been transitioning into being socially seen as a cat my entire life. In fact, when I move, I've actually already talked to my fiance about this, but I started wanting to go by the nickname Kitty more, and like, he already calls me Kitty Cat, but I honestly would really enjoy if other people in my life call me Kitty. And he suggested actually changing my legal name to it, because I was going to change my legal name to Thomas, because, like, as you may have guessed from my Etsy and my Ko-Fi, my name is, for the purposes of this online thing, Thomas Faye, but I am called Thomas. That is my first name. That is what everyone calls me. I go by Thomas everywhere, and have since, like, high school, I think. So I've been going by Thomas for a while, but he was telling me that I should start going by Kitty, which I like. And he's like, you can change your name legally to Kitty too. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that's a little too far. I don't know. I'm considering it. But I am still very attached to the name Thomas. I think what I'm going to do is going to just be going by Kitty, but my legal name be Thomas. Just because, like, in a professional setting, I don't really want to be called Kitty in a professional setting. I don't know. It just feels more playful than that to me. Like, I don't know how to describe it. But anyway, that's my main thing, is just, I want to be socially seen that way, so I have pushed to be socially seen that way, and, like, I only really surround myself with my friends who do see me that way and do accept my identities, so there's that. For me, it's just about the transitioning aspect. I also have wanted some type of physical transition as well. I don't know if this is a typical want for trans species transitioning, but I have wanted to get like serval stripes down my back, like the serval stripes and then the spots. I've always wanted to get that across my back, or cat stripes in general. I would love if I had patterns like that on my back, like an actual cat. That would be so affirming for me. The typical part is picking out which type of cat. But maybe I should make my own, you know? Because, like, I identify as my own cat, so, like, maybe I should just make my own. Just come up with my own design, an original. That'd be cool. If I ever get that awesome back tat, y'all will be the first to see, I promise. My next question is, do I have any identities that I don't talk about much? For example, like I mentioned that I have a kin type of the crow from K-pop Demon Hunters. And the next question is, what's my rarest theriatype? Theriatype exclusively, I don't have a rarest. My only two theriatypes are feline and Mexican gray wolf, so that's not super rare. That's both pretty common, actually. But yeah, there are definitely identities that I don't talk about much. My rarest alterhuman identity in general is probably going to be the catchweed bedstraw. I've never heard anyone else talk about catchweed bedstraw as a plant kin, so that's interesting. I've also never met another ocean kin. I've never met another time lord. I've never met another plague doctor. I've also never met another Susie. So altogether, I got a whole bunch of rare runs. I've never seen anyone with them. But if you are one of those, if you're Ocean kin, if you are Plague Doctor kin, if you are Susie kin, if you are Catchweed Bedstraw kin, or Sweet Gum Tree kin, please go comment down below. I want to see it. I want to meet you. Please, please let me know. Please, pretty please, pretty please. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is, do I feel like one of my specific types under different circumstances, like more cat in certain situations and then more wolf in others? Of course. I feel most connected to my wolf stereotype in high stress situations. So that's situations where I need to be protected. And this is another reason that I am certain that my wolf is something I became over time, because I think it is a direct result of trauma. I do identify as a wolf more as a psychological, mental Therian. I used to identify as it spiritually as well, but my faiths have changed over the years and I no longer feel that way. But I still do identify as it mentally. And I kind of view it as like a protector of sorts. Like, it's a response to triggers. I also feel more closely connected with my cat stereotypes when I'm with my wonderful cat, who you can't see because he is sleeping. You can see his little white spot right there. But I also feel more connected to my cat stereotypes at night, or when I'm just strolling through the woods. Anything that has me, like, prowling a territory, that really gets me going. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I'm also considering great blue heron. I talked about this in a previous one, but I've always felt a connection and had shifts with a sort of heron type, something with long legs, long body, long neck, long beak. So great blue heron really fits that. I've always been very drawn to great blue herons as well, more than I have other heron types. I have lived in a coastal region of Texas for a very long time, so I have seen a lot of coastal birds. I've seen a lot of different herons. I've seen a lot of different types of cranes and whatnot like that. But great blue herons are the only one I've seen that I have deeply connected to in that way. I do wonder if it's like an other-hearted situation, but the shifts make me lean towards stereotype, but I'm still exploring that. I'm waiting until I get another shift like it in order to explore it more, because I prefer my other stereotypes. I prefer to explore it through shifts, personally. But I shift more as a great blue heron whenever I am near water, or specifically like lake water. Lake water, really. So it's not as triggered by the ocean. So hopefully there's a lake near me that I can visit and explore that more, but we will see. Once I move, I mean. My next question is, have I ever lost connection with the stereotype, and did I get it back? Yes. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I did identify as a wolf primarily for many years. I mean, like, baseline cat, but wolf primarily for many years, until I was about in high school, in which I stopped identifying as a wolf. It was probably like late middle school through high school until college. I stopped having shifts completely. Didn't experience any kind of euphoria from my wolf stereotype hardly ever, so it just kind of faded away for a while, but it did eventually come back, yes. I experienced a shift from my wolf stereotype for the first time in years whenever I was walking to work one day last year, I think it was. But of course, it's totally possible that it never comes back and you stop identifying that way. That is something that happens to people. You can stop being a Therian, not by choice, but it happens. Have I ever doubted stereotypes or realized that your stereotype wasn't really one at all? Yes, I have. And that is because whenever I was younger, I had a lot of horse shifts. And even though I didn't identify explicitly as a Therian at the time, I did believe that I was part horse. I would say that. I was like, I'm part horse. That's the thing. Another thing is that I would call myself part cat, part wolf, part crane, part horse. The crane, I now identify more as the gray blue heron. That seems to connect more closely to whatever I was envisioning myself as. But the horse part, I don't think that was ever a stereotype. I think that was just being other-hearted. I don't think that was ever a stereotype because I don't feel that way now. I don't identify as a horse at all, and I don't remember identifying as a horse. Like, I identified explicitly as a cat, explicitly as a wolf, explicitly as a crane type of bird, or like heron type of bird. I didn't know the difference between a heron and a crane at the time. The horse never connected in the same way. But I didn't have labels or terms for these kind of things, so I didn't know. I didn't know the difference. But looking back, I did like consider myself part horse and identify that way, but I don't think that was a stereotype. I wanted it to be like the others, but I think it was more of an other-hearted situation. And finally, my last question of this video is, do I ever feel like I'm faking it? How do I deal with imposter syndrome? And how was I certain I was a Therian? I was certain I was a Therian because I identify that way. I am a cat. At my base, at my core, I am that. I don't experience a lot of imposter syndrome. That's not true. I have experienced imposter syndrome with my cat stereotype. Actually, a lot. Most of my imposter syndrome has come from my cat stereotype. I don't know why I said that just now, but it has. And that's because cats are my favorite animal. I love cats. I'm obsessed with cats. I always have been, even when I didn't have a cat. And so I sat there and I think, is this really a stereotype or is this just other-hearted and I wish it was a stereotype? Like, am I just wishing I identified as a cat? Clearly not from all of my history, but like, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know. So I did have a lot of imposter syndrome regarding that. And I kind of dealt with it just by exploring myself more. Like, just like talking it through, thinking it through more. And just like finally realizing, like, even if I didn't have cats, even if I, like, I've just always identified this way. Like, yeah, they're my favorite animal, but like, they're my favorite animal because I connect with them so well. Because I identify with them. I don't like dogs, though. I don't like dogs, and I identify as one anyway. So I've never really had imposter syndrome with that because, like, I don't like dogs. I don't like wolves. Yuck. I also experienced kind of imposter syndrome with my Susie fiction kin because, I discovered it and K-pop Demon Hunters was huge. And there were a lot of people being like, you don't actually, like, you're just saying that because it just came out because it's super popular right now. It's like, well, no, the reason that I saw it in the first place is because it was super popular, and I wouldn't have discovered it if it wasn't super popular, but, like, I still am, so that was kind of frustrating, but that was very short-lived, imposter syndrome. I feel like imposter syndrome is a little bit of an inevitability when the concept of normal and the societal expectations of normal does not include alterhuman identities or like stereotypes or fiction kins or anything like that. So I feel like imposter syndrome is something that's inevitable in most cases, but it's really something that you have to work through yourself. Like, there's not really advice I can give you because it's a very unique experience. It's something that you have to work through. If you have a therapist that is supportive of you, maybe it's something you should consider talking about with them. I'm not saying that you should open up about your alterhuman identities to your therapist. That could be a bad idea depending on their reaction to it. If you want to, go ahead. I don't know. That's your life. Do you? You do you. Yeah. But anyway, that's all the questions that I have today, but y'all really showed up for that questionnaire. I got 89 responses. So there is going to be a part 2. Part 2 is basically already on its way. I've separated all the questions. I've organized them into which videos I want to talk about them in. So don't worry. The rest of the questions are coming. If you submitted a question, I am answering it. But I do want to end this video with one last question I received. Really, it's just 2 long paragraphs. Dude, what? What? I said one question, bro. I said one. But I just want to go in and address some of the things that were said in here just because in case that person watches this video, they did answer that they are not a Therian. So, the first question they ask is, do you genuinely believe that you're a cat? Yes. Awesome. Got that out of the way. They said that in the modern community has only been around for 20 years. Not true. At all. Like, at all. It's not even close to true. And they ask if trauma caused this. Well, mostly no. My wolf theory type, yes. The rest of it, no. Oh my god, my room's so echoey now that I don't have any decorations in here. They have this part about that I said on biological theory. They don't understand. Like, I'm sorry, no? You don't have to understand. If you don't understand, okay, who cares? That's my main takeaway from this. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't hurt anyone. At all, actually. Who cares? If I identify as something biologically, how does that affect you? It doesn't. At all. At all. It's kind of like trans men identifying as lesbians. If you're a lesbian, guess what? You don't have to date a trans man who says he's a lesbian. No one's forcing you. But they've still been in the community for as long as the community has existed. If you don't like it, if you don't understand it, okay. No one cares. No one cares. No one is ever going to understand your identity. We don't have to put things in boxes. We don't have to put people in boxes. We don't have to put humans in boxes. We don't have to put people into boxes where they say that they have to identify a certain way. No, they don't. If it's a mental illness, who cares? Mental illnesses can't be cured anyway, so who cares? Might as well make them comfortable. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's all. Reminder, if you subscribe today, then welcome to my frog pond. Go comment below that you're a frog now so I can give you your welcome emoji. And then you are officially part of my frog pond. This frog pond is huge. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. 10,000 frogs. Here's a visual of what 10,000 frogs would look like. You're in there. You are now. If you're not, go subscribe so you can be one of my frogs, and then you can be put in that picture. You want to be in that picture. Anyway, bear with me while I go through this move and I figure a whole bunch of stuff out. Next time you see me and it's not in this room, it'll probably be in my new house, and it will be empty and not finished. But we're working on it, gang. So goodbye, all my frogs, and I promise I'll be back soon, because I'm pre-recording this, but the next time you'll see me in an accurate timeline will be like August, but I'll be back soon, by August, I promise. Okay, love you, bye.